Elon Musk is famous for his ability to overcome seemingly impossible odds. Most noticeably Spacex, where he competed against national governments and companies who held monopolies over the rocket industry for over half a century. And with Tesla, where he competed against historic brands such as Ferrari, BMW, Bugatti, and many others who have dominated the automotive industry for the past 100 years. And the last majorly successful car company that came into the industry and wasn't beaten to death was over 40 years ago when he tried in the early 2000s. Now, trying to compete in any one of those industries is hard enough. But trying to do both at the same time is suicidal. I mean, if you were going to commit Japanese suicide, seppuku, something like that, chances are that will probably be less painful. But Elon Musk decided to take it one step further. He decided to do something that even they thought was impossible and too expensive. He decided to go for reusable rockets, self-landing rockets, an electric car for the masses and for the elite that would be better than the oil and gas cars of today, and to make them cheaper. These two industries are possibly the most expensive in the world, running at a minimum of hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. I mean, it's not like you're trying to run the world's best clothing company or the best beverage company, because they cost a hell of a lot less. And this video is going to cover how he was able to overcome those impossible odds with Tesla and SpaceX. But the emphasis on this video is going to be how he overcame the worst case scenarios as he fought to turn his dreams into reality. Because that's usually when people look for advice, when they've done something wrong or they are at a complete loss as to what to do next. That's why my channel is about conquering your fear to command your results. Because if you don't, your fear will rule you. And that's not the life you want to live. Do you? I want you to imagine right now that you've just been on a holiday for a few weeks in December. And when you came back, you contracted the deadliest form of malaria. And over the course of the next 6 months, you lost 45 pounds or about 20 kilos as you fought to recover from it. Now it's about June, you're pretty much recovered. And you spend the next 3 weeks, well, not the next 3 weeks, the next 3 months working in your company before deciding to take a mixed trip to do a little business and to finally do that honeymoon with your wife that you've delayed for almost 2 years. And to begin that holiday or that honeymoon, you decide to check your phone. And after checking your phone, you freak out because you just find out you've been replaced at your company. And that you've just been ousted. Okay, what do you do? Because that's what happened to Elon Musk. In 2008, he had just been sidelined by one of the nastiest coups in Silicon Valley's long history of nasty coups, after a few unhappy employees went to the board to sell their vision of replacing him. He was demoted to being an advisor, and instead of being bitter, he embraced the role of an advisor. He kept investing in PayPal to be its largest shareholder. He urged the board to reject a number of offers and to hold out for more money, and it paid off, because within a year, eBay offered PayPal $1.5 billion to buy it out. He netted $250 million or $180 million after tax from that deal. And here's how he did it. He understood what happened. He did his best to understand what happened by gathering the facts and not just focusing on assumptions or whatever. He then accepted the facts in front of him. And instead of being bitter, in his own words, he said it's just better to turn the cheek and make a relationship good, as he talks about in this video.
It's hard to argue with the ultimate outcome, which is positive. So,
right.
I just thought, it's just easy to be better and just hate them forever. But it's best. The right, better course of action is to turn the other cheek and sort of make the relationship good, and it was. But I put a lot of effort into sort of making things good, and then actually recently the Founders Fund, which is comprised primarily of ex-PayPal people, including Peter, who replaced me as CEO, invested in SpaceX.
Yeah.
And I invested in Peter's things before that.
He saw past the bitterness and found a way to make things work. He didn't just abandon it as most people would, or even launch attacks. The next event that I want to bring you towards to is the first Spacex launch. When SpaceX attempted its first launch, it was aborted, and then they tried it again later that day, only for it to explode. Many of his employees were shattered, crying and emotionally broken. Elon Musk may have been that as well, but he couldn't afford to let it show. And as one of his workers recalled when Elon Musk addressed them right away, Elon said, "Look, we're going to do this. It's going to be okay. Don't freak out." And just by saying those words, everyone chilled out immediately and started to focus on figuring out what just happened and how they needed to fix it. It went quickly from despair to hope and focus. But why? How did this happen? Well, it happened because Elon Musk gave them an affirmation and a verbal permission. Whenever we fail, we rarely affirm to ourselves that everything will be okay. We normally freak out, and rarely do we give ourselves permission to just relax and just focus on what needs to be done next. And there's even less often for us to tell ourselves verbally. Put it this way, we don't do what we believe in, and our actions are a reflection of our beliefs. For example, you won't see a vegetarian say, "I'm going to eat meat," and then go and eat meat. It's not in their beliefs. So the next time you feel like a failure or you're completely lost, just reaffirm yourself. Repeat something that helps to calm you down and boost your morale, and verbally give yourself permission to calm down and focus on how to overcome your present challenge, and then do it. Don't wait. The next example is in 2008 when Elon Musk described as, well, being pistol whipped. When everyone was just destroying him in the media, even his ex-wife. And that's because he just did some calculations, and he determined that it's likely only SpaceX or Tesla was going to survive. And he was deciding, what should I do with the rest of my money? Should I split it? Because if I do, they're most likely going to die, both of them. But if you put his remaining money all in just one company, one is more likely to survive, while the other one's certainly going to die. And he was in so much pain that he'd be screaming in his sleep, waking up his wife. And it's no surprise when Tesla was going through $4 million a month. So how did he survive and save both companies? Well, he went around asking to borrow money, and he mounted not one campaign, but simultaneous campaigns to save both companies. He took out a loan through SpaceX. He competed for NASA's $1 billion plus contract to resupply a space station. And he told his investors to back him by saying, whatever I put in, I want you to match it. And during the last hour, before he officially would run out of cash and lose his companies within a few days, the deals went through and he got his funding to keep both companies barely alive. When that happened, he broke down. As one of his friends called Gracias said, what he went through in 2008 would have broken anyone else. He didn't just survive. He kept working and stayed focused. Most people under that kind of pressure just fray. Their decisions go bad. Elon gets hyper-rational. He's still able to make clear, long-term decisions. The harder it gets, the better it gets. Anyone who saw what he went through firsthand came away with more respect for the guy. I've just never seen anything like his ability to take pain. And that leads me to one of my final points. Feel the fear and do it anyway, as Elon explains in this video.
But there are just times when something is important enough, you believe in it enough, that you do it in spite of the fear.
So speaking of important things,
like people shouldn't think people shouldn't think, well, I feel fear about this and therefore I shouldn't do it. It's normal to feel fear. Like you'd have to do something mentally wrong if you didn't feel fear.
So you just feel it and let the importance of it drive you to do it anyway.
Yeah, actually something that can be helpful is fatalism, to some degree. If you just accept the probabilities, then that diminishes fear. When starting SpaceX, I thought the odds of success were less than 10%, and I just accepted that actually probably I would just lose everything. But that maybe would make some progress. If we could just move the ball forward, even if we died, maybe some other company could pick up the baton and keep moving it forward.
You need to accept that you're feeling scared, that there is fear, and you need to accept that maybe your chances of success are very low or unfavorable. And then ask yourself, what's more important? This thing you want, or the mission, or your fear? What matters more to you at the end of the day? How scared you are, or what you want? And if we were to recap everything, it would be this. You need to understand what happened first. Then accept it, regardless of whether you agree with it or not. And don't try to blame others. Don't be bitter about it. Just do what you can to make it better. Repeat affirmations to yourself of how you can thrive in these stressful times, and verbally give yourself permission to relax and refocus on what you should do next. And whatever happens, clarity comes first. If you don't have it, hire someone to help you do it, to get that clarity. Because the reason why most people fail is because they don't know what the fuck is going on. People only succeed when they know what needs to be done, and then do whatever it takes to achieve it. Immediately, not later. You can see that very clearly because that's all he talks about, clarity, when he's answering an interview question about what he's going to do after one of his rockets just exploded. And he's not just asking himself, he's asking other experts, as shown in this video.
And in this case, the data does seem to be quite difficult to interpret. Like whatever happened is clearly not a sort of simple, straightforward thing. So we want to spend as much time as possible just reviewing the data, obviously going over it with NASA and with the FAA and with a number of other customers, and just sort of seeing what feedback everyone has based on their prior experience, to see if we can get to what the most likely root cause is. Look at both what we think most likely happened, and then anything that's a close call, and try to address all of those things and maximize the probability of success for future missions.
To put this into simpler terms, always be clear. And always remember to ask yourself, what matters more, your fear or your mission? What matters more? And if you want to learn more about Elon Musk, then I highly suggest that you read Ashley Vance's biography of Musk. Because to date, he's the only author I know who has had inside access to Musk and his life while reading his biography. So his book will most likely have the most accurate portrayal of the man. And if you like this video and you want to see more, maybe you want to see me cover Steve Jobs, maybe you want to see me cover Mahatma Gandhi or any other famous and successful person, then subscribe and comment down below and tell me, what do you think of this video? What did you like about it? What else, or who else do you want to see me cover in the next video?